A returning rocket booster has just been caught at sea, and it may tell us a lot about where the next space race is heading. Welcome to the Automated Daily, Top News Edition, the podcast created by generative AI. I'm Trend Teller, and today is July 13th, 2026. Coming up, a new brain map that could change disease research, a fast-moving Ebola vaccine trial, Europe taking aim at children's social media use, and why the AI boom is starting to show up in everyday prices. This episode is brought to you by CrispCall. CrispCall provides agentic cloud telephony for modern businesses. Find the link in the episode notes. We start with science and medicine. Researchers at IIT Madras have unveiled what they say is the most detailed 3D atlas of the human brainstem yet assembled at cellular resolution. The project, called Anchor, combines more than 500 tissue sections from brains at different ages and lets scientists move from broad MRI views down to individual nerve cells. That matters because the brainstem quietly runs some of the body's most essential functions, including breathing, heartbeat, sleep, and movement, but it has been notoriously hard to study in detail. The atlas is open online and could become an important reference point for work on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stroke, sudden infant death syndrome, and even surgical planning. Still in health news, the UK has cleared the first human trials of a new Ebola vaccine from the University of Oxford, only 8 weeks after the latest outbreak was declared. The trial will begin with 50 healthy adults in the UK, while preparations are also being made for studies in Africa. This vaccine targets the Bundibugyo form of Ebola, which is driving a deadly outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and currently has no approved vaccine or treatment. The bigger story here is speed. Researchers used a platform already familiar from the Oxford COVID vaccine, helping them move quickly without skipping the usual safety process. In an outbreak zone, time really matters. In Europe, policymakers are moving closer to stricter limits on children's access to social media. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says a proposal will come after the summer, with age-appropriate restrictions and possibly phased access by age group. Ireland says it supports action too, but wants a shared EU rule rather than a patchwork of national bans. The issue is gaining momentum well beyond Brussels, with several European countries already moving in this direction, and the UK and Australia going further with tougher age-based rules. The central argument is simple. Online platforms are shaping young users earlier and more intensely than many governments are comfortable with.
On geopolitics, India is clearly trying to widen its strategic role across the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regional tour produced agreements on defense, energy, critical minerals, maritime security, and supply chains, including a BrahMos missile sale to Indonesia. The timing reflects a broader regional mood, concern about China's growing assertiveness, combined with uncertainty over how consistently the United States will stay engaged. At the same time, New Delhi is preparing another notable shift at home by allowing private firms to manufacture the Astra Mark II missile. Officials hope that will increase output and support exports, while critics are focused on security and quality control. Put together, it shows India trying to build influence abroad and capacity at home. And in the wider region, the Philippines is marking 10 years since its Hague legal win, rejecting most of China's South China Sea claims. A reminder that international rulings still matter politically, even when enforcement is weak. Now to space, and to that opening tease. China has successfully landed a reusable rocket for the first time. After launch from Hainan, the booster separated and was recovered on a floating sea platform using a suspended net and landing hooks, a different approach from the more familiar legged landings used elsewhere. The significance is straightforward. Reusable rockets can cut launch costs and support more frequent missions. For China, this is about much more than spectacle. The Long March 10 line is tied to its plan to land astronauts on the moon by 2030 and to expand large satellite networks in orbit. So this is both a commercial milestone and a strategic one. And finally, two AI stories that connect in an important way. OpenAI and Anthropic are warning U.S. officials that Chinese actors are using large networks of fake accounts to probe and imitate leading American AI systems. The concern is that rivals can learn how these models behave and reproduce similar capabilities at a fraction of the original cost. That would make AI competition less about who invents first and more about who can copy fastest. Meanwhile, the AI boom is also starting to hit the real economy. Massive spending on data centers is pushing up demand for chips, computing gear, and electricity, which is feeding into higher prices for consumer electronics and utility bills.
Economists say that may be enough to keep inflation stubbornly elevated and complicate the Federal Reserve's next move. Thanks to our sponsor, Lindy. Lindy is your ultimate AI assistant that proactively manages your inbox, meetings, and calendar so you can focus on what actually matters. Find the link in the episode notes. That's the top news for July 13th, 2026. From brain science to vaccine speed, from Indo-Pacific strategy to the economics of AI, the story today is how fast capability is becoming power. Thanks for listening to the Automated Daily, Top News Edition. I'm Trent Teller, and I'll be back with the next update.